Ladies and gentlemen.
Hello there, coward.
You are now listening to Retro Radio.
Welcome to a special review edition of Retro Radio, your comprehensive online real player source for classic video gaming news and information. I'm Shane R. Monroe, your host. Welcome to the show. Well, here it is, folks, our first review edition of Retro Radio, a special edition designed to review cutting-edge programs and emulators dealing with classic gaming. These special editions allow me to get a more focused show on a particular product more quickly and comprehensively than merging the review into a later episode of the regular show. These shows are much larger than the other shows since they will often have full-blown video clips and footage. We have a fantastic review for you, the long-awaited Dragon's Lair for your set-top DVD video player from Digital Leisure Incorporated. A fully interactive play-it-with-the-remote control, high video and sound quality version that can be played on nearly all consumer DVD movie players, merging DVD video technology and interactive classic gameplay for the first time. For those of you who may not have a clue about what Dragon's Lair is, let's take a look at the video display of your Real Player G2 window and watch the attract mode.
Dragon's Lair, the fantasy adventure where you become a valiant knight on a quest to rescue the fair princess from the clutches of an evil dragon. You control the actions of a daring adventurer finding his way through the castle of a dark wizard who has enchanted it with treacherous monsters and obstacles. In the mysterious caverns below the castle, your odyssey continues against the awesome forces that oppose your efforts to reach the Dragon's Lair. Lead on, adventurer. Your quest awaits.
Dragon's Lair, the first interactive laser video game, has been a worldwide sensation since its introduction in 1983. Created by Rick Dyer, who designed the hardware, and Don Bluth, former Disney animator, who struck out on his own and created classics like The Secret of NIMH, Dragon's Lair was originally designed as a home video game. But since the technology was a bit much for consumers at that time, it made its way to the arcade. But that hasn't stopped Dragon's Lair from selling arcade and home versions consistently for nearly 16 years, more than any other original video game. It has racked up over $100 million, and almost 3 million people around the world have played it. In fact, other than Pong and Pac-Man, Dragon's Lair is the only video game that was admitted into the Smithsonian Institute. What made and continues to make Dragon's Lair such a sensation? Let's take a look at a clip from the Specials Extras section of the history of Dragon's Lair on the Dragon's Lair DVD video.
First time we put the hands of the engineers who have heretofore been the game designers. They've designed all the games we see in the arcade. Now we're taking Hollywood and the screenwriters and the people that work with dramatics and we're putting them hand in hand so that engineers and dramatists, if you will now work on what will be in the arcade market. And that's why I think you'll find something that is tremendously more exciting, something that will pull you into the screen like you haven't been pulled before.
These kids at the Celebrity Sports Center here in Denver are playing the newest rage in arcade games, Dragon's Lair. You've seen how different this game looks from the average video game. The reason is the players are actually playing a movie. Options are presented to the player on screen, and it's up to the player to react correctly. The scenario changes depending on the reactions and decisions the player makes. Make the wrong decision, and our hero, Dirk, meets an untimely end. It was invented in part by former Walt Disney animator Don Bluth, who has struck out on his own and in the last few years has been responsible for the animation in the motion picture Xanadu, and for the artistic and critically acclaimed Secret of NIMH.
First of all, you have to give the illusion that the game player is in control, when indeed he may not be. But you must give that illusion. I thought, wow, that's right up our alley. That's movie making. Give the illusion, present a moment to him in which he must react, a moment of danger, and then get him to react to that moment at the right moment. Then you'll see another scene in which you're saved from that. Okay, well, that's very interesting. How can I design a game which will present enough of those moments in short little periods of time to where the game becomes exciting and gets him keyed up. And
through the years, Dragon's Lair has been reincarnated in so many formats that it's hard to keep track of it. It's been ported to nearly every computer platform as a more traditional video game genre with actual joystick action, vice, and interactive movie. It made a port to most console game boxes the same way, sans the cartoon video. The Amiga computer was probably the first version to actually look and play like the original, although it did come out on a half a dozen floppy disks, and the disks got corrupted if you accidentally ejected them at the wrong time, and of course it cost you $10 to get another set. But when it did work, it was seriously breathtaking. When the PC finally started catching up technologically, an MPEG version came out to flagship a new product, I believe it was called Real Magic, a basic MPEG decompression board that would play MPEG stuff like the specially created version of Dragon's Lair. There were some other interactive full video titles that came out too for it around that time as well, but it didn't do well enough to succeed. Enter the next evolution of Dragon's Lair ports, the Philips CD Interactive, or CDI. The first game video console to toot an MPEG decompression card to play movies. These include CDI movies, video CDs, and other digital movie formats. Dragon's Lair was a fantastic choice to be ported to this medium, since it had MPEG quality video and sound, plus interactivity built into the box. Despite the huge infomercials and large advertising budget, CDI never took off, and it was soon deep-sixed by Philips. Personally, I own the Commodore's CD32 unit, which also boasts an FMV full-motion video MPEG decompression card. There were even a couple of sneaky developers at Commodore that put a little hack in just before the unit went to production that let it run these Philips video movies, something Philips said inaccurately that no one else could do. But Dragon's Lair never made it to that platform, nor could it play the CDI version, as it was actually a CDI game and not a straight movie. The next evolution of Dragon's Lair was for CD-ROM-based consoles. The 3DO, I believe, was the first CD-ROM console to offer a port of this game. Then came home computer ports on CD-ROM, which weren't actually video but redrawn cartoons which played very similar to the arcade and had most but not all scenes. They were close enough, though, to at least get the urge to play out of this guy. Now we have DVD, the first consumer-based digital video medium that has truly been embraced by both the populace and the film industry as well. While videophiles will write and tell me that Laserdisc has been around forever and it was embraced, let's face it, DVD is making a much bigger splash than Laserdisc has. And with all the advantages that DVD offers over Laserdisc, I believe it's here to stay. To properly review the Dragon's Lair DVD video, we have to look at it two ways, as a game and as a DVD movie, since it really is both mediums in one. So the rest of the review will be in two parts, as a game and as a DVD title. First is a DVD title. Digital Leisure has done their homework. Dragon's Lair comes in a standard clamshell-style DVD box, like Tombstone or Starship Troopers come in, which is just fine, although I kind of prefer the other click-close style box myself. The case is beautiful, as is the CD. If you watch your video window here, we'll throw some screenshots at you of the case and the CD. A standard fold-out instruction book comes with the CD, tells you what you need and more about running the title. While the title doesn't include many items found on a movie DVD, like widescreen modes or alternate audio tracks and subtitles, let's face it, Dragon's Lair doesn't really need any of these. Interactive menus have, however, become almost as big a draw as DVD titles themselves. Some, like the menus on Blade, are almost like playing a game themselves, what with all the interactivity involved. While Dragon's Lair's menus aren't exactly up to the Blade caliber, they are pleasant, well-drawn, functional. The last plus of this DVD title are the extras. To me, I can do without Spanish overdubbing and French subtitles if I get to see some goodies I wouldn't see on VHS or at the theater. Things like reviews, interviews, B-roll footage, deleted scenes, alternate endings, bloopers, and all that good stuff. As a movie buff, I demand more from my digital video disc titles, and again, DVDs like Blade really give you your money's worth. If it seems like I'm always referring to Blade, it's only because Blade, to me, is the epitome of what a good DVD title should be. A basis for comparison, if you will. Anyway, Dragon's Lair's extras are worth every extra penny you might spend on the title. If you're a die-hard Dragon's Lair fan, or even a Don Bluth fan, of which I am both, I sat captivated during the History's extra playback, the interviews with Don Bluth and Rick Dyer, the behind-the-scenes animators working, and even Rick Dyer's first video game he created in his garage. And it's a killer idea, but you'll have to get the DVD to see it for yourself because I can't show you everything here. The clip we showed you earlier was taken from the history section, and there's much more, including TV magazine spots and reviews, interviews. What else do you want? Needless to say, if you're a die-hard fan of Dragon's Lair or Don Bluth, you can't be without this DVD title for your collection. What about other extras? Sure. How about the game played all the way through for you? Just sit back and watch the show. While you yourself may never make it to the Dragon's Lair, you can at least see it being played. Being able to watch the show also can help your game, too. My only beef with this portion was the falling platform scene. The watch mode implies you watch the game all the way through without death or interruptions. The falling platform scene doesn't ever show Dirk the Daring, our on-screen hero, ever getting off the falling platform, but instead shows him plummeting to the ground and dying. I understand that, unlike the other scenes, the falling platform scene isn't played sequentially. The disc must skip to the part where you jump off, making it difficult to just play it in sequence. But it would have been nice, at least a nice touch, for the team to clip the actual proper, successful video clip in there for us to see during the watch mode. Now, this is nothing I can't live without, of course, but this is a review and I have to be fair. With all the space on the DVD, I would have liked to have been able to watch the original Laserdisc played front to back, being able to see all the deaths and scene portions even cut out from the DVD title. While the arcade game never let the player play the drawbridge scene at the beginning, at least no arcade machine I've ever played actually has that scene at the beginning playable, the home editions always have. And the mysterious missing from the arcade Ye Boulders animated portion of the game magically reappeared in the home versions. It doesn't appear, however, that all the deaths, like the Lizard King dragging you off and the floating down the Mud River death routine, made it into the home versions. I'm personally lucky enough to have the original Laserdisc of Dragon's Lair recorded to VHS, so I know what's missing. To the average player, however, you probably won't miss anything. Having the whole Laserdisc played front to back in a watch mode would have been a nice touch, or even an alternate watch mode to turn on the death scenes after each scene was played. Now, I'm just nitpicking, of course. It's still a really cool title. But hopefully Space Ace Digital Leisure's next DVD video release will have much more of the funny death scenes that are available for viewing by the player, as some of the death scenes in Space Ace are just a crack-up. My only beef with the watch mode is that you can't pan ahead or back to skip scenes, to say jump right to the Dragon's Lair scene itself. Almost all the controls like zoom and search and scan, they're all disabled or reset at the end of each scene. I would have liked to have at least been able to skip around the watch mode a little bit. Now the last criteria for a DVD title, the sound quality and video encoding quality. Top-notch on both counts. The history extras were taken mostly from old videotapes, so needless to say the video audio quality isn't nearly as good as the remastered cartooning of the game. But the quality is still better than you will often find on VHS. They did a great job. The encoding of the game itself is damn good, although at the close of some of the scenes you can see the last frame or two very MPEG degraded. But this is not usually noticeable unless you're standing a foot away from the TV, and it isn't in all the scenes, and those that you do see it in, the screen is usually black or mostly black anyway. Aside from that, though, the sound is stunning. Crank through a good audio system. The AC3 audio is amazing, and you'll find your neighbors pounding on the door telling you to turn your damn TV down. And you can slam the door on their face. To quickly summarize, as a DVD title, Dragon's Lair is well above average. Now let's move on to this title as a game. Let's face it, Dragon's Lair was never exactly a fast-action arcade-style game, but more of an interactive movie, with the interaction being ample but more minimal than what you might expect to find in an arcade game. For those of you who miss playing Dragon's Lair ever, as the cartoon played, you tap the controller in one of 4 directions, or press the sword button to keep the movie going properly. If you failed to move or moved wrong, the game skipped to a video portion that showed your player being killed. We're talking animated violence, people, no blood or such. We're talking PG at best. You had a certain number of lives to complete your quest, and the same thing is true with this version. With unlimited continues, though, it seems kind of redundant. The game is made up of scenes and mirrored scenes, all of which are included in the DVD, even the random scenes that only popped up occasionally in the arcade version, such as the Dark Horseman. The mirrored scenes being exact mirrors of the original scenes, the moves all being mirrored too. Unlike the arcade game, the scene in the DVD video version are in a static order due to the limitations of DVD technology, according to the book that came with it. Now let's get to the crux of the game, playing it with a remote control on a machine never designed for this level of interactivity. At first I was a little disappointed, and I'll explain why later. But do yourself a favor and read the booklet that comes with it before you play to avoid any sort of nasty surprises. In the arcade game, areas of the screen would occasionally light up to help aid the player with where to move next. While the home version has some of these, it doesn't seem to have them all, which is no biggie, since a small triangle shows up in the bottom right to show you that a move is needed from the player. I guess actually it would be more like a diamond than a triangle. While this sounds like it would take all the fun out of it, it really doesn't affect most scenes. In fact, for the average game player that plays the game every now and then, this is much better than the frustrating blindness that the arcade game required. While your moves show up when you enter them on or in the diamond to confirm what you entered, it doesn't tell you how to move. You're required to figure this out on your own. Oh, and not all the moves seem to be arcade perfect. This should throw you die-hard fans for a loop. Some arcade machines seem to be more tolerant to alternate moves, like pressing sword to take your sword away from the gold coffer and the Lizard King scene towards the end, vice pressing forward like other machines required. And even throwing in a move or two that you may not have seen before, like the forward move at the end of the rolling boulders scene, which only occasionally appeared in an arcade machine. If you're watching the window on your G2 player, you will see the game being played through a scene. And you've probably noticed the biggest Achilles heel of this game, the pauses in the video when a move is entered. This was the part that disappointed me at first. It's also explained in the manual, and I'll read the excerpt. Typically, there will be a short pause in the video whenever a move is made. The duration of this pause varies from machine to machine, but currently there's nothing that can be done to eliminate it. We are hopeful that future generations of DVD movie players will be optimized to handle this situation and will eliminate the pause. I did email Elizabeth Foster at Digital Leisure a query with regards to this limitation. Here's what I asked. The stalling of video when a move happens, I understand, is a DVD player problem. Can you go into fairly technical detail why that is? Will it always be a problem with future titles, or will there be some workaround? The DVD-ROM version does not do this. Is that correct? Her reply, the players aren't optimized for a branch to the video that continues immediately after the current position that is being played. Instead, they halt the video, dump their buffers, and then seek, in this case, where they already are. Then pre-buffer a bit of video, hence the pause, and then get playing again. At least that's how we figure it. We've seen some software DVD movie players for PCs that don't have pauses when playing the DVD video version. We don't know if any hardware manufacturers plan to address this issue in future models. And you're correct with regards to the DVD-ROM version not having the problem. Now, according to Digital Leisure, they really don't have a make and model of DVD they specifically recommend for playing their DVD video games at this time. However, the titles will not work on all Toshiba 2107 and 3107 players. Make a special note. If you plan on looking at getting the DVD-ROM version, I beg you to look at their web page and make sure your DVD-ROM doesn't have any support issues. DVD-ROM is a weird technology, and I would ask a lot of questions before you buy. So how does this pause adversely affect the gameplay? Well, those of you who spent your entire allowance and half your paper route money on Dragon's Lair, it might bug you a bit. Since in the actual arcade game, the only time the video hitched like that was when you made a wrong move and were going to die. It takes a seasoned player a little while to get over this. However, after playing the first couple of scenes, I got used to it, and it became more of a feature of this port of the game than as of an abnormality. For beginning players, it might actually be a better thing to give them time to react. You still have to know where to move, and making it more or less the same as the game. And using a remote control pad to control Dirk via a joystick is a learning curve on its own. Fortunately, not a very steep one. Gamers spiritually into Dragon's Lair will find this alternate means of playing Dragon's Lair somewhat blasphemy. With the DVD limitations of the linear scenes, the different movement entries, and the non-pureness of the moves, for example, there are moves in the arcade version that required pinpoint accuracy in terms of timing to execute. And with the diamond move indicator, there's no room for error like this. If you fall into this category and have a DVD-ROM for your PC, you may wish to look into that as an alternative to the DVD video version. Frankly, though, the DVD video version is the everyday man's version of Dragon's Lair. It's a bit easier to play, giving even my 8-year-old a chance to play Dragon's Lair without throwing the controls down in frustration the first time she played it. This is a great thing, actually. People playing this game at home on their TV aren't going to be into the spiritual side of the game. They want something playable that won't give them an ulcer. And this DVD video title does just that. Let's wrap this up. Overall, it's a great title. While the gameplay isn't perfect, it's damn good and should take care of your basic primal urges to play Dragon's Lair on your TV. The history extra footage is fantastic, and it alone is worth the price of the DVD, which, if I recall, is about $34.95, if you're a nostalgia fan of the game or a Don Bluth fan. They even throw in the Attract Mode trailers for their up-and-coming DVD titles like Dragon's Lair 2, Space Ace, and A Fork in the Tail, a live-action interactive DVD video title coming soon. For those of you who just want to finally see the Dragon's Lair ending scene, you can watch it to your heart's content. I personally am very pleased with it and will continue to recommend it to my friends with a DVD movie player. For a more definitive experience, and if you have the means, you may want to look into the DVD-ROM version, also available from Digital Leisure. Their website is www.digitalleisure.com, all one word, no spaces. Frankly, I think that truly interactive DVDs like Dragon's Lair will set a new standard in interactivity for DVD titles in general, and can do nothing but help the DVD industry expand its horizons and offer us consumers more cluck for the buck. I can see these titles being very successful in a rental market, as well as bringing nostalgia back to us 80s people, and maybe even introduce a whole new generation to a legacy that is still going strong in the hearts of hundreds of millions of fans all over the world. I'm Shane R. Monroe of MonroeWorld.com, and I thank you for tuning in to another episode of Retro Radio. Look forward to our live show at the end of April. I'd love to have you online with us. Until next time, keep it retro.